Well, I mean, but it's going to be a Windows 8 story with tablets as well as PCs, right? How does that go over? Let's talk about that. My big Windows 8 prediction, maybe it ends up playing out in 2013 a little bit more, is that it's such a radical departure from what Windows has been that Bill Gates has to step back into a day-to-day role for some period of time. Not necessarily as CEO, but he's got to come back, whether it succeeds wildly or fails miserably, and I don't see a lot of room in between.
He's done. He wants nothing to do with it. He won. Yeah. He won and he's out. Like it's a different world now.
Windows 8 is not like Vista to Windows 7. Windows 8 is like DOS to Windows 1.0. And the transition from DOS to Windows took 10 years because Windows 1.0 came out in 1985, and the loop closed with Windows 95 a decade later. So even if Windows 8 is a wild success, it's not going to take 10 years. But I think it might be 2014 before it's particularly clear whether Windows 8 matters or not.
Yeah, Do they have that love, though? I mean, this is the tablet play. It kind of has to hit in 2012.
They're not trying to grab people who might buy an iPad. They're trying to take the hundreds of millions of people who use Windows and move them forward. So they're competing less against the iPad than they are against Windows XP, for gosh sakes. Windows XP is still Microsoft's biggest competitor.
Yes and no. I mean, to Nick's earlier point, I mean, what goes with it? I mean, people aren't buying operating systems. I'm not buying a phone or a tablet because of the operating system. I'm buying it because of what I can do with it, which is the App Store, the connection to books and music and all the other things. What's that part of the story? So Windows 8 may be a terrific operating system, but as a consumer, what does that get me beyond that?
Does that become a problem? Do you think Windows 8 fails unless the ecosystem comes before it?
Well, but they have the ecosystem that they're building around it is the Xbox ecosystem, right? It's Xbox Live, it's the content that goes with that. Gates invented the tablet. No one can argue that, right? But I interviewed a guy who worked at Apple, who worked on the first tablet concepts at Apple, and they went into Steve Jobs' office and they presented it to him, and he played with it, and he sat there and he's like, wow, this is really cool. He's like, but what would I use it for other than in another word, sitting on the toilet and surfing the internet? And the reason that he didn't push it forward at that point was because
what year was that?
This was it was about 2005, before the iPhone. And the reason they didn't push it forward is because they didn't understand what content would be on it. And I think that now Microsoft finally gets that the Xbox content and Zune and all those things are the things that would go on that tablet, which would change everything.
So are you talking voice platforms right now? Because the way Google's...
voice recognition almost, just solely about controlling things around you with your voice.
But Google's been doing that in Android for, I mean, they don't get the credit for it.
They haven't been doing it like Siri, though.
Yeah, not like Siri, but
that's
I
like
mean,
saying
you could
Google
get driving
had a car
directions.
and it's a Honda versus a Maserati.
I don't think Google got the credit they deserved for what they did.
But it's all about being able to say what you want, how you want to say it.
So what's next in 2012 then? Opening it up so that other apps can take advantage of it. Why does 2012 become the year of voice?
Because we finally have the power to do it, right?
But that's 2011.
No, but it's different. It's so there's all these services that go into what Siri is. There's nuances, all these different things that are finally understanding. For a long time, it was trying to understand the semantics of like, I want to go to the store. How do I get there? But now they've actually finally figured out how to do that from an algorithmic level in the cloud, right? So when you start to apply that to other things, so you take Siri, for example, right? So Siri now works on your phone. So next time you buy the iPad 3, I guarantee that Siri will be on it. And not only will you talk to Siri, but when you open up your iPad, it'll say, who are you? And you'll say, I'm Nick, or I'm John, or whatever. And it'll say, let me go get your stuff. And it's already there, and that's it. And the same thing will happen with a television and with your computer. And it starts to build this ecosystem, which goes back to this ecosystem concept of things that start to understand you and become intelligent. And like Greg's saying, they live in the cloud, and they can update from there. And I think that's what changes everything.
And I don't think it's just voice. I think it's also gesture. So the Connect that came out this year, I think, and we're seeing some of the patent filings surrounding the forthcoming Apple iTV, whenever that does come out, where you might be throwing video from your TV to your laptop or vice versa. So I think we're, in a lot of ways, we're moving away from the traditional interface of clicking and typing toward voice and gesture.
I want to come back to TV, but let's talk enterprise for a bit. What's going to be the big story as far as what businesses are buying, what's really profitable in the enterprise tech arena in 2012? Don't everybody jump in at once.
Do you believe Mark Benioff or not?
How can you not believe Mark Benioff?
I actually do believe him. I mean, if you're talking about the enterprise social and enterprise collaboration, I do believe him. I think we're seeing companies really trying to figure out how you can either take what people are using in the public social world or specifically design tools for the enterprise social world and incorporate these. Collaboration is huge in the enterprise right now. It's really sort of the way that IT can prove its value to the company. A lot of what IT does is behind the scenes. Nobody sees it. They just expect it to work. By providing these social and collaboration tools, you really bring IT to the forefront and show how you're streamlining business processes.
Who pulls ahead? Let me ask a pointed question there. Who pulls ahead in enterprise social in 2012? You've got Cisco doing collaboration. You've got Oracle just came out with this social network. You've got Jive getting ready to IPO. You've got Salesforce. Who is it?
No, I think Salesforce is actually in a very good position for that because I think they get it and they're selling it to people, right? They're selling the idea to people. And they're using, Salesforce has come in a lot of cases through the business side, not through the IT side. And they have a very good way of approaching business to get business users to use the technologies and bring them into the organization for them. So I think, they recognize that being a cloud company doesn't mean a lot these days, and being the first cloud company doesn't mean a lot. But they're on to ideas and issues that enterprise IT is talking about, and they have the ability to bring them in through other avenues in the company.
That said, I don't think that, it's hard to get an answer out of Mark Benioff on this.
It's
but
hard to get an answer out of Mark Benioff.
one that doesn't involve platitudes, but
You meant a good answer.
I love Benioff. He's a great CEO, but Chatter isn't really making money. I think Yammer is doing a lot better in terms of the market for that particular kind of product. But are these social products really going to make these businesses money?
We've got a couple different approaches, right? We've got Oracle coming out, and they went through this, Larry Ellison went through this at Open World with this system, the social network that's very much tied into helping salespeople sell better and pull the resources together that they need to generate revenue. Then we've got folks like Jive who are doing a whole company about that. VMware is even in the game, having done an acquisition along these lines.
Can I just interrupt?
Yeah.
Enterprise it's interesting because I think for the people in the room, it's probably kind of boring a little bit, right? However, but the reason over here. And I want to say the reason why I say that is because now the question is it still something that consumers care about? Do we still care? I go to the toilet and I flush it. I don't think about what happens after that, right? And the same thing has now happened. We're at this point where we have these iPads and we press a button and we go to YouTube or whatever. Do consumers are they still interested in enterprise? Is it
You're not denigrating the plumbing of the internet, are you? Because there's a lot of money in internet plumbing.
There's a lot of money in the plumbing that goes into the toilet. But do I want to read about it on the front page of the New York Times? That's the question. I'm just curious. Like, is it something? Have we transitioned now to a point with the era of post PCs? Have we now transitioned to a point where it's an era of post enterprise for consumers to read about?
Well, and once people are bringing their own devices to work, and they are not satisfied with the sort of device they're assigned by their company.
Right.
Once they want to bring their own iPhone, and they find that the software that they use as a person/professional isn't available, or that their IT wants to lock it down. I think that there are lots of questions to be raised about precisely that.
BYO technology in 2012. Is that somebody's? No, seriously, that's somebody's prediction, right? VMware just announced it in the past couple of days that they're now letting employees bring in their own phones and they'll virtualize a work environment on it.
Remember when that BlackBerry company had
I think enterprise is incredibly important. My question is to what degree do we talk to the consumer about it, right? What parts do they need to understand? It's fast when you look at the way Cisco servers work and how they cache YouTube videos, and it's unbelievably fascinating. To what my question is maybe John answers this. To what degree is the consumers really want?
No, and it's an absolutely valid question, which creates this huge pressure for the enterprise IT shops, right? The people who control this billions and hundreds of billions of dollars worth of spending on this stuff that runs companies, because they're really struggling how to make this transition to an environment where I don't tell you what to bring to work, I don't tell you what social tools to use, I don't tell you what apps you download on your phone and use, but by the same token, I've got to figure out how to protect my company from all the stuff you're doing with the stuff you love and the stuff you don't care about.